As I've shared before, one of my favorite ways to frame the Torah pass at a B'nai Mitzvah is by sharing the most common question students ask when I place the scroll in their arms. Is it heavy? It's a simple question, but the answer isn't. Because there are days, like at a bar or bat mitzvah, when the Torah feels impossibly light in our arms. Surrounded by pride, joy, and hope, it rests easy. And then there are days when being a Jew in this world feels heavy. When carrying our tradition, our history, our grief, our fears just feels like too much. It's a painful truth, but this past year and a half has held a bit more of the latter. And by beginning of this summer, both Rabbi Nichols and I had found ourselves desperately longing for some pure, unadulterated Jewish joy. And if there's one place that knows how to do Jewish joy right, it's summer camp. So tonight, Rabbi Nichols and I want to make you jealous a little bit, but mostly to share a glimpse of that light and joy, to share a few snapshots from our time on faculty as rabbis and residents at our URJ summer camps earlier this summer. So I just came back from 2 weeks at URJ 6 Points Sports Academy in Asheville, North Carolina, one of the URJ's 3 specialty camps. There's also a sci-tech camp as well as a creative arts camp. It was my first time there, and I was blown away. The community is warm, vibrant, and proud. Proud to be Jewish, proud to be athletes and to embrace sports, proud to be camp. But the real magic of 6 Points is how seamlessly they weave those 3 identities together and how they keep evolving to strengthen them all. Now, unlike most URJ camps, 6 Points doesn't have a formal education block in the daily schedule. Instead, Judaism is lived and felt throughout the day, in the dining hall, on the field, and on the court, and in the swimming pool, and in the dorms. So I want to take you on a short tour of 3 spaces where I felt that Jewish joy most deeply. And since it's sports camp, it's only natural that our first stop be the field. One evening, as the older campers finished soccer practice, I watched them gather together in a final huddle. Sweaty, tired, beaming, they put their hands in the center, and I was ready for a 1, 2, 3 break or something like that, and instead I heard them shout in unison, "Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek." The words, be strong, and let us strengthen one another. These are the words that we say when we complete a book of the Torah. And at this camp, they had transformed them into the perfect team chant. Because what better way to celebrate shared effort? Recognizing not just the strength and endurance that we strive for as individuals, whether on the field or off, but the ways in which we are strengthened by one another. Next, we'll move to the dining hall, where 2 Israeli staff members led Milat Hayom, a camp favorite, the Hebrew word of the day. Complete with a theme song, skits, hand motions, and slides, the entire camp was bought in. Words like bakbuk mayim, your water bottle, and krem hagana, sunscreen, get stuck in your head in the best way. And every night at dinner, campers compete in Hebrew games, submitting answers to Hebrew or Israel trivia in hopes of being reigning champions at the end of the week. There is nothing better at 6 Point Sports than winning anything. Everything is a competition. That's one of the things I learned. And finally, we arrive at what they call the Holy Stadium, a lawn under tall trees with blue Adirondack chairs arranged in concentric circles. This is the camp's prayer space, the holiest space on camp. And during services, as we prepare for Mourner's Kaddish, we read a few Kaddish Kavanah submissions, simple poems that campers and staff members crafted to share memories of a loved one with just a few loving details. it would sound something like this. Frank Rosenberg was kind, smart, and funny. He loved his grandchildren, chocolate bars, and sports. In that space, grief and memory are held gently, communally, reverently. 6 Points is a place for campers who often feel torn between soccer practice and Hebrew school. And at 6 Points, they don't have to choose. It's a place where they can show up fully as themselves, as athletes and as Jews. At camp, they're not different from their teammates because of their Judaism. They're connected by it. And that's the true joy of this camp, that it's a place where Jewish identity is not what separates campers and staff from their peers, but the very things that brings them into community and connection.
While Rabbi Erdheim sprinted down the fields and courts at 6 Points Sports, I spent 8 days at Camp Coleman, the regional URJ summer camp in the mountains of Georgia. Along with 5 other faculty members, we ran lab, the Jewish learning period, for each unit, helped campers prepare to lead camp services, and this year we even got to help deliver mail on a golf cart during rest hour. I did it while wearing a tutu and crown because it was Tutu Tuesday. I will not be wearing a tutu every Tuesday here. Like Rabbi Erdheim, I want to share 3 moments where I witnessed Jewish joy. 3 aspects of camp where you can feel that campers are all in, that they are fully embracing their Jewish identities. The first is a Shabbat tradition. Each Friday evening, the camp director highlights how 3 staff members have embodied the camp values. The 3 staff members come forward and are each handed a Torah, cradling the camp's Torah as they lead the entire camp, all dressed in white, on a Shabbat walk from the outdoor sanctuary to the dining hall for Shabbat dinner. Last Shabbat, Rachel, one of the adults who works in the camp office, was honored. She was a camper at Coleman in the 80s and is now a parent. She was so overwhelmed by hearing her name called that she was weeping by the time she got to the front. You could feel that being chosen for this honor was not really about being singled out for her work. Carrying the Torah represented physically holding the values that make camp a holy space. The second moment I want to share happened on my last night of camp. The Israeli Scouts Friendship Caravan performed. 12 Israeli teens singing, dancing, and performing skits through a series of coordinated costume changes. And if you've seen one caravan performance, you've really seen them all. Not a lot has changed in 60 years of the program. It is pure, cheesy Israeli shtick. But when the scouts put out their hands and invite the audience to get up and dance, every Coleman camper and counselor was screaming with excitement and up on their feet like they were at a Taylor Swift concert. Pure Jewish joy. The last moment I want to share begins with a faculty conversation. Some of the faculty members were frustrated by the hand motions, clapping, and choreography that campers have added to the prayers. In fact, just before praying the Givorot, which we did a few minutes ago, you can watch campers whispering and pointing to each other, deciding who's going to go up and who's going to go down, so that during Berachamim Rabim, their motions are alternating up and down the row of campers. The conclusion that the faculty came to was that it was more important for campers to feel so much excitement and ownership around reciting Hebrew prayers than to worry too much about decorum. I will admit, at first it's a bit jarring when campers cheer and pump their fists at the start of a favorite prayer melody. Yes, I love this Osei Shalom. But how can we really complain about kids cheering about prayer? Rabbi Erdheim and I have shared these moments not to suggest that we add dance moves to our services. We'll allow you to work on that this summer as part of your internship. Or to add Hebrew cheers to organized sports in Charlotte. Instead, we want to invite you to seek out more Jewish joy. None of the moments that we shared happened by accident. They happened in intentionally created Jewish environments. They happened through activities that made space for unabashed Jewish pride. So how do we set ourselves up to experience more moments of Jewish joy? We are constantly asking that question about what happens within these walls. And we've incorporated traditions such as our Shehechianu sharing at the beginning of services. But we each need to ask ourselves about what happens outside of these walls. How does your home spark Jewish joy? How do your holiday traditions and gatherings prompt Jewish joy? How do we give ourselves permission to let loose, to be silly, to enjoy our Judaism a bit more? If we could send every member of our community to an immersive Jewish environment like these summer camps, we would. But there aren't enough bunk beds for all of us. So we need to keep finding Jewish joy together in other ways. Because when we seek out Jewish joy, when we dance, pray, laugh, remember, and learn in spaces that celebrate all of who we are, the Torah doesn't feel quite so heavy. We lift it together. And in doing so, we remember that its weight is also its strength. Shabbat Shalom.